adult life has been rooted in service to my Abenaki community. And some of that service manifests itself in the form of research, because I find that looking through the eyes of my ancestors brings me closer to them. When I recreate something like a beaded bag, I can almost see their hands shaping the same styles and patterns and hoping that our children will do the same. And it is that vision that cements our community in an unbroken line of tradition and love. But how can you create the type of world that your people deserve if you don't necessarily understand where you come from or understand the gifts that have been given to you? Our future is found in our past. Many people mistakenly believe that the 7 generations refers to the future, but actually it is the 7 generations you could possibly know, from your great-grandparents to your great-grandchildren. When we make a decision, we not only have to make a decision for our children, but we have to bring our ancestors on our journey with us. The center of the Abenaki experience is not ourselves, it is each other. My chief tells me that at the time of contact, to think of our life like a painting. So when Europeans came, they took that picture and they chopped it up into a lot of pieces and they threw it up in the air, and we're still trying to piece together that puzzle today. But how can you when the picture is always changing? My ancestors experienced centuries of warfare, disease, settlement in their homeland, the effects of colonization, the eugenic sterilization project, and decades of identity wars that did not end until 2012 with the state of Vermont. But this talk is not about our pain. It's about our rebirth. And finding pride again in each other. You cannot live in the pain of the past and expect to move forward, because that is where the plagues of alcoholism and domestic violence and all of those other issues thrive, right? If intergenerational trauma exists, imagine us as being born with holes in our soul and only a frayed piece of thread to fix it with. But I am a weaver. What do you think that thread looks like? What do you think that our ancestors would want us to weave forward? The fact that we even exist is a blessing. It's a beautiful thing to tell our shared story through all the products of our culture. But what I think they'd want us to move forward are their core values, to see the spirit in all things and to understand our place in the community of creation. A few months ago, I was having a terrible day. And I was mired in all my projects, and I was wondering, is anything that I'm doing even making a difference? So I walked from my office to my car, my head down in thought, and then as I'm going past the trees, I hear a chattering. And I look up, and there's a pileated woodpecker. They're one of our most important medicine birds. There are wayfinders. They tell you where you're going by understanding where you've been. The ultimate 7 generations bird. And with that, he handed me back my thread because I am a weaver. I come from a tradition of weavers, and our children will be weavers. One of the most beautiful things that our ancestors ever gave to us is this idea that all that's part of creation is a person. And if everything is a person, it therefore has a spirit, it has a consciousness, and it has will. So we must hold the plant nations, the animal nations, and all of those other non-human persons with as much esteem as we hold ourselves. Ego has no place in my world. My best friend Frog, he tells me never to forget the stories of all other things. He once said to me, "Mel, you named your cat Wheezy. What did your cat name you?" And in this world of creation, the ancestors are ever present. One of our elders, Doris Minkler, she always said that the ancestors light our way like fireflies along a summer path. In 2009, during the quadricentennial celebration in Burlington, a lot of our community members had come out for it, and there was a parade that was scheduled. It ended up being canceled due to the weather, unfortunately. But one of our people said, let's march anyway. Let's just do it for us. So we got everybody together, and we marched down Main Street, heads held high, and we sang as loud as we could. And it was a moment, right? People eventually followed, but it was our moment. We heard the voices of the ancestors in the rain, we heard the thunder beings above, and we marched for our communities. The seen, the unseen, and the non-human. I went home, I told my grandfather about it. This is the grandfather that his family had always told him, just leave everything behind, because it's too dangerous to say you're a Native person. And he grew up right around the time of the eugenics survey, and kind of put his head down, and he's like, they clapped for you? It's like, of course they clapped for us. We're awesome, right? And he kind of thought about it for a while, and he never even acknowledged his culture his whole life to me, to anybody, right? And then he said, let me tell you about quill work. And my thread got a little bit stronger that day. My community got a little bit stronger that day, including the Vermont community. So, I'm about to be an aunt, which is very exciting. And one of our storytellers, Gerard Sinakwa, he outlines the wampum records as it relates to the children. Welcome to the world, little baby, for you are an ancestor to generations yet unborn. You are an ancestor to generations yet unborn. They both carry the legacy forward, and they are the legacy themselves. Their place is already set in the history of our people. I used to worry that nothing would be left for them. And a few years ago, my elders, Rose and Linda, they taught me how to do finger weaving. And then the following year, I taught one of the youngest members of our tribe, Brianna. And I see these pictures, and I know that it's going to be okay. We all have tens of thousands of years of history and love and tradition weighing on our shoulders. Our responsibility then is to be a good ancestor and to take pride in each other and see the spirit in all things. That thread between the generations is lined with stories and ceremony and music and dance, but most importantly, those core values that light our way through time. I am a weaver, and you can be one too. Oleoni. Thank you.